So we're on the way to Germany for Newcastle United's big clash against Bayer Leverkusen. Eddie Howe will be hoping to continue the progress Newcastle have been making. It's been steady progress. There's been times where things haven't been pretty, but at the end of the day, Newcastle know they've got one hand on a place in the last 16 if they want it badly enough. I think, to be totally honest, Eddie Howe will be trying to get Newcastle through to the next stage as early as possible, and the Bayer Leverkusen game offers them the chance to do that. They've done well so far in the Champions League. Obviously, Marseille was a disappointment in the last game, but yeah, for me, this gives them a real chance to get this job done early, get it done with 2 games to go, and I think that's what the aim has to be. You know, Newcastle, and while that win wasn't pretty, there's no escaping that. It did the job for Newcastle. It kept the momentum going. They're now back in form in the Premier League. They need to transfer that to the Champions League in Leverkusen. So we're heading over there now. Eddie Howe meeting the press at the Bay Arena tonight, and Nick Walter going up to speak to the German media as well. So it's going to be very interesting. But yeah, Newcastle just need to keep that mood right. They've got a big derby coming up. That's kind of at the back of the minds at the moment. But getting 3 points in the Champions League would be the perfect way to get to Sunday, and Newcastle on their side, backed by the fans. Don't fancy taking on anybody at the moment. Well, 24 hours before Newcastle United's big game against Bayer Leverkusen here at the Bayer Arena, and what a venue this really is. It's so impressive when you're outside. It's almost arching over the roadway there, and it just can't be missed. And I think really Newcastle players will relish playing on that pitch. It looks absolutely magnificent down there, and the setup here is first class. Eddie Howe's just about to get ready to do his press conference alongside Nick Walter, who returns to Germany, and there'll be a few Bundesliga journalists in there ready to fire a few questions his way. What am I expecting from Eddie Howe? Well, I think in truth it's what type of a team he's going to play tomorrow night. It's how much priority goes to the derby, who's left at home, and how Newcastle are going to approach these 2 huge games. If you're asking me what the most important game is, despite the illustrious backdrop behind me, I have to say it's Sunday. If Newcastle lose on Sunday, then I think it's a result that lingers, so it's something that Eddie Howe will be keen to avoid. But look, this is the Champions League and you've got to focus on it. Eddie Howe will be looking to play a relatively strong team here. He's got a few issues which we're going to pick up with him on very soon when he sits down for his press conference. But Newcastle fans, thousands of them, some without tickets, arriving in their droves, stopping off at places like Cologne and Dusseldorf, and it's going to be a really intriguing 48 hours for the Newcastle fans back in Germany. So let's hope they can get a big result here tomorrow night. But as I say, that derby, it's just on the horizon, it's not going away, and it's looming large. they're now looking to bounce back from Marseille a couple of weeks ago when Newcastle slipped up in the south of France. But here in Germany, on what feels like a very mild night in Leverkusen, Newcastle starting to think about that last 16 place. They do have the derby on their mind. We asked Eddie Howe and Nick Waltermada about it in his press conference, but ultimately it's all about getting 3 points in the Champions League. It's all about that last 16 spot. You can't think of anything else. You can only go one game at a time. But by the same token, everybody admitting that that game against Sunderland is there. It's on the horizon. It's looming large. But Newcastle, all they can do is go in the best possible spirit to that game, and hopefully that is done by beating by Leverkusen here tomorrow night. Loads of fans here, loads of fans arriving. Some have come here without tickets, just want to be part of the big celebration again of Newcastle in the Champions League. There's fan zones in Dusseldorf and Cologne. It's going to be 1,800 Newcastle fans here tomorrow night. They're going to be looking to enjoy this, savour it, and they want it every year.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. We've got Eddie Howe now for the next 15 minutes, and then you'll be joined by Nick Waltermada. If you've got a question, if you can just get my attention, and we'll come to you in order. Who wants to start us off? Nisha.
Hi, Eddie. A massive week for the football club. You know that. What's it been like preparing for this? 3 points could all but take you to the knockout stages of the competition. A huge game before the derby.
Yeah, it's been, as most weeks this season, intense. So finish the game on Saturday, immediately review the game, then immediately prepare the next one, and just constantly in that cycle of watching and either watching your own team in our performance or preparing a new game. So having to cram a lot of work into a short period of time, but we'll be ready for the game. We're excited by this one. I think this is it's a great stadium. Looking forward to the challenge that Leverkusen will bring, because it'll be a really tough game for us.
Great to see Wissa get his first minutes at the weekend. How's he been since that game, and is he ready for more?
Yeah, he looks positive. I think his body language has been very good. He felt boosted by coming on the pitch and playing. As I said, it's probably earlier than we would have wanted, but I think he's ready to take on minutes. The challenge we have now is we're going to have limited game training time in between games to continue to develop his fitness, so it's going to be a balancing act we've got to try and get right. But I think he showed in that 20 minutes his qualities and what he can bring, and I think he'll only get better.
Thanks, Nisha. Keith Downey.
Hi, Eddie. I know you've kind of been doing it the last few games anyway. You've sort of been mixing it up a little bit in terms of your lineup. Will you pick a team tomorrow night with Sunday in mind? Because obviously it's a huge game, the derby.
No, not necessarily. I think we'll pick a team that I think will be strong tomorrow and hopefully strong on Sunday as well. Got a few injuries, especially to our back line, which has been there for a few games now, and I think that's an area of concern for us. But we come here with a strong squad, and we're ready for this week, which will, as you say, 2 massive games for us, but we'll be ready for both.
When you say they're an area of concern, do you mean in terms of the amount of games the likes of, I suppose, Tino Livramento and Lewis Hall are having to play, having just returned from injuries? Is that what you mean by that?
Yeah, that's what I mean. We don't have the depth in those positions that we would want necessarily at this time of the season, but we just have to go with it. And those 2 players that you mentioned have done really well so far. Lewis was obviously ill before Saturday's game, and we didn't want to take that risk of pushing him when he was fatigued. But came through the 30 minutes that he played well. So hopefully both players will be fine.
Thank you. We'll go to Scott, Chris, and then Lee, please.
It feels like a really close game in terms of the Champions League campaign, Eddie, and obviously we all know kind of 2 years ago, strong start, and then it kind of fell away. Clearly after the Marseille game.
Cheers.
This is an opportunity to make sure that doesn't happen. Let's look at it.
Yeah, I think you throw me with that one. Yeah, I think been relatively pleased with how we've done in the Champions League this year. I think the Barcelona game was a strong performance. Actually, the 2 defeats we've had have been similar patterns in games where I think we've been really strong in our performance, but we haven't come away with what I felt we deserved in both of those games. So we don't want that empty feeling again. This will be a really tough game. Leverkusen are an outstanding football team. They play a really good style, very true to their identity. They never deviate from it. Got some really good players. So this will be a tough game, but also another test of how far we've come and how far we've got to go.
And we've talked a lot in recent weeks. Sorry. We've talked a lot in recent weeks about game management.
What's your vote, Scott?
Feel like
Does it?
Should be used to that.
I was going to say, you always tell me you can.
I couldn't hear a thing then.
Oh, right, okay. We've talked a lot about game management in recent weeks. It feels like this is a game where that's going to be really, really important because the San Gilloise game you were always on top of. It's unlikely that that's going to be the case tomorrow. There's probably going to be parts of this game where you're going to have to manage it.
Yeah, that is part of winning and losing, how you manage different scenarios. I'd say our main issue in recent weeks has been defending set plays. So you can call it game management. Defending set plays has been a bit of an issue for us, but nothing that we can't fix, and we're working to do that. So there's always things that come up through the season, areas where you have to suddenly focus on and do some work on, and that's in both ways. That's attacking and defending, and that's what we're currently doing.
Chris?
Hi, Eddie. Nick Voldemort obviously come back to Germany. Can you just give a little insight into how you feel he's done since he's come across? Obviously, the big price tag, there's been some criticism across in Germany of him, but he seems to have really settled in quite well so far.
Yeah, I think he's done brilliantly, yeah. I mean, just had the pleasure of half an hour with him on the way here, and just a great person, really good character, great to talk to and to ask questions of, the German league and the German mentality. He's on the pitch, I think he's done really well. It's very difficult to come in and do what he's done. I think he's fitted in superbly. He's really brought into the team ethos in terms of giving for the team, whether that's out of possession, whether that's coming back and defending set plays, which he's actually done really well for us, and of course scoring goals. And we need to try and create more for him as a team. We need to try and be better in that respect. The chances that he has done, he's done very well with them. But there's still so much more to come from him. I'm excited about what he can be.
Lee Ryder?
Eddie, have you considered, or is it even possible to have dual preparations, like leaving 4 or 5 players at home to relax a bit ahead of Sunday, and bringing your squad here? Is that something you've thought of? Because previous managers have actually tried it and failed.
Well, let's put a line through that one. I was going to do it, but it didn't work. So, no, I think we don't have enough players currently to do that anyway. So we bring our whole squad who's fit. And that would be my train of thought anyway. The best thing to keep players fit and fresh is to continue to play football. Sometimes rest, unless it's designed specifically for the individual and really planned through, I don't think at this stage of the season is productive. So even if we do rotate players, we still bring them. They're still part of the group, and sometimes a really good cameo, 20, 30 minutes, can do them the world of good and can freshen them up. So no, we're here in full strength.
You said you've got a strong squad. Has anyone been left behind? Any surprises? That we
Injury-wise, you mean?
Yeah.
No, not from Saturday, no, I don't think so.
Thanks, Lee. Yeah, gentleman in the white T-shirt.
Hi, it's Marlon Ilbacher for Sky Sport News Germany. For us Germans, it's very exciting to see Nick Woltemade again playing here, of course. How do you see his development? Where's his potential, and how typical German is he?
Yeah, I think he's got a lot more in his game to still come out. I think technically we've spoke a lot about it in England, that he's very, very good with the ball at his feet. He's got really good quick feet for such a big player. And as a team, we're still getting used to some of the ways that he wants to receive the ball and the runs that he likes to make. My only frustration is that I haven't been able to train with him as much as I would have liked on the actual training pitch and really work him in certain areas because we've just got a game every 3-4 days, and so that's not been possible. And I think that's the quickest way to probably bring out the growth in his game that we want to do. But in the meantime, we're doing a lot of analysis with him. We're doing a lot of reviewing and then trying to implement certain things in his game off the back of that. And I think that's worked pretty well. In terms of typical German, I don't know it. I don't know that many Germans, so I don't know what the correct thing to say there is. All I can say has been a breath of fresh air in terms of his conduct and his attitude and how he's been with his teammates.
Thank you. Gentleman on the right-hand side there.
Yeah, Felix from RTL Germany.
Hi,
Eddie, once again, to a question to Nick. He's very popular in Newcastle. Your supporters sing a song. You were talking about the Germans. So what is it that you like him as a human being? Does he have British humor, or is he for you typical German?
I think he has British humour. I think that's one of the first things that I noticed about him. He came in with a very, really good way of approaching a transfer. So he came in and instantly, I think, felt at home and felt comfortable and made people laugh with his unique humour. I think laughter and relaxing people is a great way to sort of settle in with a new place. But also, I think he's gone in wholehearted to the Newcastle way of life, to what the team needs, to what the city requires when you play for the football club. So he's worked hard. He's really tried to help us in all of the ways that we want to play, and he's tried to implement that into his game, even though it might not be the most natural thing in his game. And I think that will stand him in really good stead for long-term success with us. He was making me laugh on the way here. He really is a funny guy. And I mean that in the nicest sense. I really like being with him.
Thank you. Louise Taylor?
Hi, Eddie. You're in a good position still to finish in the top 8. How important would it be to try and avoid the playoffs, if possible?
Yeah, I mean, it would be the thing that we're looking to do, of course, if we can. However we get through to the knockout phase of the Champions League is the target. We'll take it any way that it comes, but yeah, the preference would be to go through without a playoff game, and that would cut down our load slightly. That would be beneficial, but there's no guarantees. This is the elite competition. It is because the games are so tough, and we know for us, the 2 away games we have to come are very difficult. The home game, we're playing a team really in form, so it's a tough end to our Champions League campaign, and we want to learn the lessons. Going back to the first question I had of the last Champions League campaign and try and get through.
And with Nick Voltemader's humour, could you give us an example?
Not very good joke teller myself, and I don't think it would sound as good if I told them. But I don't necessarily think he's a joke teller. He's more just he's got good lines to come back with, and he's a good guy to talk to, as you'll find out very, very soon. But I think he can laugh at himself as well, and I think that's a really good quality. So I think he's just a down-to-earth guy.
Thanks, Louise. Gary?
Hi, Eddie. Obviously, we spoke about Nick, but he's not the only German doing really well for you at the moment. How well and impressed have you been by Malik, and just how good can he be as well?
Yeah, Malik's done incredibly well. I think for a defender, I think that the role is slightly different. When you come into the team, you almost want to go unnoticed in a sense that you're doing your job consistently well, you're making good decisions. If your positioning is good, you're rarely caught out. And I think he's done all of those things. He's sort of gone on, not under the radar, certainly with us, and I don't think with the media either, but it's been cool, calm, collected performances. I think he's been very good with the ball, but most importantly, very good defensively. So he's made a great start to his career with us, and long may that continue. Our defensive solidity is going to be crucial. And yeah, I've been very pleased with him.
Go on then, I'll put you on the spot. So who's the funniest, Malik or Nick?
I don't think there's a competition there because I don't think Malik would lay claim to that title. But I think Malik's got a great way about him as well, although slightly more understated. He just goes about his business in a really professional way. He's quite quiet within the group, but I take that as a sign of real strength.
And just behind Gary?
Yeah, hello, Philip Ahrens from newspaper Bild. What impression did you had from Leverkusen's performance in Manchester 2 weeks ago? You know, they were playing with a lot of player injured, suspended, and 6 under-19 players on the bench, and they managed to win this game.
I think any team that goes to Manchester City and wins instantly demands your attention, really. And I think that game underlined their quality and what they can do and how dangerous they can be. But I don't think it's just that game. I've watched them a lot in the Bundesliga, in various competitions, against Dortmund in the Cup recently. Very, very strong team. As I say, very clear identity, very good at rotating positions and playing flexible systems. And that makes them difficult for us to play against. So our preparation is going to have to be really good.
Thanks, Philip. Thank you, everyone. Nick will be with you very shortly.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
Well, Newcastle just wrapping up their training session here. We've now been moved outside. You only get to see 15 minutes of it. UEFA make that a rule for journalists to at least observe some of the training, some of the build-up. My take from it all was that really Eddie has his players in good spirits and he knows that it's a big week. He's trying to display this kind of stillness, this calmness going into the derby, and he knows that it's all about Leverkusen first and they can't focus on anything else, so it's got to be about what's happening here in Germany, and then they'll move on to Sunderland very swiftly after that. They're still digesting Burnley, if the truth was to be told, but Newcastle on very good spirits. What I learned from that was that Eddie Howe basically is a man who isn't going to be told how to pick his team, how to rotate, anything like that. He's got his own plan. Basically, he said the best way of keeping these players fit and firing is to keep them on the pitch, to keep them playing, to keep those minutes topped up. And there's been no talk of anybody resting back home and the team being fresh for Sunderland. Eddie Howe very much looking and focusing on both games, and that's probably the best way to approach probably the most important week of the season. But yeah, good spirits here in Germany from Newcastle, and we'll move on to that big game tomorrow night here at the Bayer Arena.